Hey everyone, welcome back to another episode of Friends from Work. I'm Tom, this is Sean, and on today's episode, we're going to bring you guys something a little different, better than usual than our typical movies and TV things. We're actually going to be discussing boxing and why it's starting to become a dead sport in the traditional boxing sense. But before we do that, do us a favor, leave a like right now, subscribe down below, follow us on TikTok and Instagram. Links are on the screen and down below, and yes, I am up to date with everything except Instagram, but really just follow us on TikTok and YouTube, which you are if you're on this channel.
You've been team Instagram too. You're always team Instagram.
I know. Well, yeah.
I don't know. Is it like harder? I don't know. I have a hard time keeping up with Instagram on mine.
Well, because it's not as convenient.
Yes.
But I'm starting with John Wick. I'm just gonna start. We missed a chunk of it. I'm not gonna try to do what I did with YouTube because actually let's get into the episode, guys. I apologize. But yeah, so we're gonna go by a few segments. Obviously, in the recent news, we saw Garcia and Gervonta Davis, that fight coming up April 22nd, and then we got the Alexander Usyk and not Tommy Fury, Tyson Fury fight, or there was supposed to be a fight, and then we're just gonna discuss how other franchises have kind of taken over the combat sport, become the face of it versus boxing. But yeah, so let's get right into it. We're going to start off with the Gervonta Davis and Ryan Garcia stuff. So if you guys are boxing fans, I call myself a casual fan. I don't want to call myself pretty adamant and super knowledgeable. I have a pretty base knowledge with it, so I call myself casual. What about you, Sean? Where do you level?
I mean, I guess in this day and age, I guess I'd say I'm more casual. I would say generally I would say I'm a pretty well-educated fan, but more so like the pre-Canelo era, like when Floyd Mayweather was up doing his rise. But I think that was we're kind of talking about boxing his turn. And so I would say more than a casual, definitely. But I'm not really in tune with what's going on now, but we'll kind of dive into why that is.
But yeah, so yeah, that fight's coming up, and it is a very exciting fight. I am excited. I know we're gonna watch it.
Yeah, we've been talking about it for a while. I've been wanting to see them fight.
Yeah, and that actually kind of brings into our issue is this fight has been bubbling for what, 3 years now, 4 years?
Long time
like it was
coming.
like Garcia and Haney, Devin Haney, talking. I'm saying Ryan Garcia. I should probably say first names if you guys aren't too up to date with it, but Ryan Garcia and Devin Haney were in talks, kind of, and then it was all three of them always like kind of chatting at each other. More so Garcia with Haney and Davis. I've never really seen the other two interact, to my knowledge at least. But it's always been Garcia going at it with one of the others.
Yeah. Well, I think Haney and Davis used to be in the same gym at one point.
Yeah, they were trained with Floyd.
Right?
Yeah, and then Haney and Garcia fought in amateurs together. Like they fought against each other a few times. So yeah, that's a little knowledge with that. But this fight has been taking forever to make, and it finally got made. And I'm a little upset with Garcia for a couple reasons. I'm upset for both of them. Because the price point for the pay-per-view is $84.99.
That's not on them, though, right? I'm assuming they're not picking that. Like,
no, but like that's also just the part of
it's probably based on how much money they wanted, though.
Yes.
So it probably is.
Yeah, they're not 100% at fault, but they're a contributing factor.
Yeah.
I guarantee you, the biggest part of the negotiations wasn't the weight; it was who can get the most amount of money.
Right.
And that's definitely part of it. Because, with Garcia, he actually hopped on Impulsive, did an interview. I haven't finished it yet, but I got to the part where shout out Mike Malek. He asked a good question. He was like, "Hey, like I'm in a better place where I can afford this." It was like, so what makes you? Why is it $84.99? Everyone act all shocked. The other co-hosts were like, "Whoa, that's crazy." And then Ryan's response was, I wish it was a little more humble. I mean, I guess it is a hard question to answer, so to speak, like in a PR sense. I get it. You don't want to like, oh, I know it's too much. You have to answer it in a most PR way you can. But his response was just gross. In my opinion, he said, well, people have paid more for less entertaining fights. That rubbed me the wrong way.
Yeah, I don't know. I think people don't like Garcia. Luckily for him, boxing is a very race loyal sport. Mm-hmm. So if you're Spanish, the Spanish guys are just going to ride with you.
Oh, 100%.
So he can do stuff like that and just be a prick.
Mm-hmm.
But he's not very likable. He's very cocky. He doesn't, like you said, he's not very humble. Boxers are just normally, till they get to their peak, most of the time are humble. I mean, there's the Floyds, there's the the Muhammad
They're
Ali's.
humble to an extent.
Yeah,
like,
but there are a few cocky guys, but they're always outliers.
Yes.
They're outliers in the sport. Most fighters are usually just very humble, and sometimes Ryan is, but I don't know. He has this vibe of like he's more famous than these boxers,
Yeah.
and he really is.
on a social media.
Yes, and he behaves that way, and
Yeah.
it kind of comes off as pretentious a lot of the time to me.
Yeah, and my biggest issue, and I used to be a Garcia fan, and what turned me off, and I'm actually going to get into this a little bit because maybe my opinions change on Fury later. Not too much, though. But so when Ryan Garcia stated that he had to leave boxing for X amount of time because he had mental health issues, I initially thought, okay, Tyson Fury did the same thing. He had mental issues. He went quiet, dealt with them, and then came back when he was ready. 100% understand that. What I didn't like with Garcia, and I've said this to Sean about a million times now, and I stand by this point, was he wasn't inactive. Like, we all know social media is like the biggest thing right now when it comes to like messing with your mental health. It's a toxic place. We all know it. We see our TikToks. We see our comment section on all our socials. We know how it is. But he was super active on social media, still very public going and all that. And it just did, to me, it just felt like a cop-out. It really was disappointing, and it was distasteful for using mental health as an excuse. And then, like, he's still doing, like, all these ads, working with these influencers, popping up in all these different YouTube videos, like, still very active on social media, keeping his presence dominant. And just, like, but, like, it doesn't make sense because when I have issues, I go to the gym. I work it out. You work it out there, but social media I do not go to when I have mental health issues. That bothered me a lot. And he keeps pushing that narrative about him, like, oh, I had to take away from mental health issues, but you're on social media doing body shot challenges with Aiden Ross. Like, that stuff bothered me a lot.
I thought it was a cop out as well. I don't know if he didn't want to fight. I don't know if he was going through. That was right around the time he left Golden Boy too, right? After
yeah,
stuff with Canelo.
It was like after the Luke Campbell fight, and he it was
after Luke Campbell.
Yeah,
okay.
that was his last fight before his comeback fight.
Yeah, and I'm sure like a lot of people were calling him. I don't know. I try not to harp too much. I'm kind of like Tom. I don't, especially what I told him when I said it's like he's a cage fighter, like, or not a cage in the cage, but he's a fighter. It's like, of course you have mental anybody who decides to fight for a living has mental problems. Like, so I'm sure you do, but like, haven't you had them this whole time? Now all of a sudden you want to box. I just feel like boxers nowadays are killing it with like. I understand these guys are humans and they got feelings and blah blah, but that's like people don't want to hear that in fighters. I'm sorry, like if you guys want to make money, you guys are the ones complaining about not making money, like, and you're not making money because nobody likes you. Fans don't like you. Like Ryan Garcia, like I said, luckily for him, boxing is still very racial, especially among Latinos and things like that. So they ride or die for their famous boxers, but like. People want to be able to relate to you, and it's like he acts like he's all holier than thou, and then he's like, "Oh, I'm $1 million boxer, and I make all this money to box, and I'm too depressed to go do that and make millions of dollars." When people are depressed, they got to get up and go to McDonald's or go work. Like, so it's like I don't know. Sometimes it comes off pretentious to me. Like I understand, rich people have mental health problems too, but it's like Tom said, he wasn't like acting like somebody with mental health problems, and I don't know what that actually is, but
I feel like being on social media constantly
he just said that.
It.
He said, I have mental health problems because it's this end-all, be-all where like you can't ask him anything about it. You can't question him because he'll be like, whoa, I said I had mental health problems. It's personal. Like, and it's this thing where, and it also later you can be like, oh, remember I said I had health issues or mental health problems? So I don't know. He's coming off as disingenuous to me. Yeah. Throughout all of this. I don't know who I think's gonna win, but like Ryan just comes off as really fake to me a lot of the time, and Gervonta is annoying, and you know what I mean, he's
cocky,
but I don't. He comes off as very genuine.
Yeah,
I'll say that, and like Ryan, I always feel like he's trying to say the right shit.
Yeah, it's very PR based. Yeah, I agree. That's a great statement there. With Davis is like, he said something like, I gotta look at the time because I don't want to swear. He said some like assholey things. But like in like a boxing sense, like the very bravado of it.
Yeah,
like,
that's
how it is.
Kind of
that's
what you got to do. You got to play the game.
Yeah,
a little
so
bit.
I
That's
have
what
no
I'm saying.
issue with
really,
that.
I don't really. I'm not against it. You could be a little. Like I said, he's kind of a prick sometimes. I'm fine with that. But like, it comes off as like genuine. Like he's not being like a tool or like saying the PC thing to say. I don't. And like again, I don't know. Ryan just doesn't act like a fighter to me. Like he acts like a pretty boy. Like there's some fighters who are cocky. There's some are humble, and like he's not humble. He's not very cocky either. It's like a I don't know, like cocky in a feminine way where he's just like, oh, you can't mess with me. You can't say anything about me.
I don't think it's passive
I don't
aggressive.
know, but like he was complaining about Canelo. Oh, they weren't paying enough attention to me. like
the greatest
at
the one of
Canelo's
the-
gym. Like
Yeah.
that's like going to Floyd Mayweather's gym and being like, they're paying too much attention to Floyd. Like,
Yeah.
okay, go own your own gym. Ryan Garcia's
Yeah.
rich; he could start his own gym, get his own trainer. Like, so why would you even go there in the first place, thinking that you were going to get more special
No.
treatment? Than
And it was crazy because Canelo talked a lot of great things about him, and the comment that upset Garcia was, he's like, I think Ryan just needs to be. Canelo said Ryan just needs to be more active. He's a good fighter, but he doesn't push himself. This is before Ryan said anything. This is the initial thing. He's like, he just needs to be more active. He has the potential to be great, and he's just not being active enough. He just needs more fights, and that's not rude. He just said he was great. I
that's
just
how
wanted to
Canelo,
see.
and Canelo's talking from experience. He fought a lot.
Yeah.
He had like 45 fights by the time when he fought Floyd when he was
Yeah.
like 23 or
Yeah.
24. Like,
Yeah, he has like a
Garcia's got less
30-something
than
record,
20.
yeah.
Well, you know what I mean? And
Yeah,
they're
it's
all like
23.
bullshit cakewalk
Yeah.
fights. Like Canelo was like fighting the guys he was supposed to be fighting.
Yes.
He wasn't ducking any fades.
Who was it? Did he fight Sugar Ray?
I think he fought Shane Mosley. I don't
Yeah,
know.
Sugar-
I mean,
yeah.
he fought everybody who was
Yeah,
boxing
Shane
then. He wasn't
Mosley.
ducking anybody. He even fought Floyd when Floyd was basically still in his prime,
Yeah.
like right at the end of his prime, and he outclassed Canelo. But like to get in the ring, I don't think Ryan Garcia would do something like that. Get in a ring in a fight he was surely gonna lose.
No, young boxers nowadays, and they actually, I didn't finish. Again, I didn't finish that podcast at Impulsive, but they were talking about. Jake, but in general, nowadays when you lose your you're undefeated thing, you're no longer you're a trash boxer. And that comes with it.
I don't think that's true. I just think they
But
feel
that's
that in
what I'm
their
saying.
head
Yeah,
they
the
feel like,
mentality is that.
because like Floyd is the best boxer and he doesn't have any losses. Like, and really in the fight game, like maybe you being the GOAT might be done.
Yeah.
Like, but nobody can. Like, nothing's better in sports. That's why people love fighting. Is when you get knocked the fuck out and you come back and win the fight the next time, or in that
Yes.
fight. Like, people want to see that. That's what people love about fighting is the underdog winning, people getting knocked down and getting back up. And I feel like new age boxers don't want to get knocked down and they don't want to get back up. Like,
No, 100%.
they just want to do all the knocking down and like and raising their hand in the ring. These, like I said, Brian Garcia and Gervonta's 3 years coming.
And Gervonta's been active.
And when I was younger in the 90s, early 2000s, if these guys were coming up, they would have been. This has been their third fight by now.
Yeah.
They've been definitely fight 2 by now. Like, these guys have been ducking each other, cherry picking fights, and it's come to a point where like then now you're charging $85 for a one card event or one fight event. Really, like, no, I haven't heard any hype for the card, and it's like we're paying $85. Like, what if one of these guys gets knocked out in the second round? It's gonna be like, what
I
the
will
hell?
riot.
Yeah,
I will go to Vegas and riot. Like, I
Like,
will start another riot.
I
I
don't
swear
know.
to God.
Like, I hope boxing figures something out, but I think at this point, I think it's dead. Dana said something about him starting his own boxing thing.
That would be wild.
Dana has his flaws.
But the structure.
Yeah, I was gonna
Yeah.
say he makes people fight. There are things that you can pick. Or Dana, I don't have their financials.
Yeah.
I actually did see somebody, Patrick Bet David, if you know who that is.
Mm-hmm.
He does a podcast. I'm sure people are watching it. But he was interviewing, I forgot which MMA fighter. It might have been Francis Ngannou, and he was on there. And Patrick Bet David is a business guy. He pulled out like the UFC financial, and he's like, they were like, oh, the UFC gets that and that. And he's like, really, that's not true. He's like, yes, the fighters get 18, but the fighters get 18% or whatever. And in most other sports, the fighters they get up closer to like 40 or 50%. But he was showing like other stuff where like they do way more events than other sports. Like, he has to pay all those people during those events. Like, the UFC has like, what are there 52 weeks in the thing? They probably have 50 events in the year. Like, boxing ain't having 50. I mean,
and
they
that's
might
just the
like,
events. I don't even think including Ultimate Fighter.
yeah, they have 50 like weekend event. Every weekend they have a card. Every single weekend they have a card. I think maybe there's 2, or I think Christmas. There's like 2 weeks they don't. But they're having 50 events a year, and like I said, that doesn't count the Contender Series, the Ultimate Fighter, all the promotion they're putting in for this stuff. Like, it's like I don't know their financials, and I'm sure there is more money to be made for some of these fighters. But when you look at it as a whole, like, Dana's paying a lot of people. I'm not trying to defend Dana. I'm sure he's
Just understand
there's a
his
problem.
side,
Like, people forget, like, just like the fighters are trying to make every fucking penny they're worth. So's Dana. Like, why like the fighters don't want to be humble, but they expect Dana to be. Like, you know what I mean?
That's why
like,
he started the business. He loves it. But
yeah,
he's
like,
I
you know
wanna
what I
get
mean? Like,
back,
they're all
too.
about making money too. So how can, at the end of the day, these fighters are like, oh, I want to make every fucking dollar and get. Then so does the business. So you should understand what the hell they're doing then.
Oh yeah,
like,
100%.
Again, like, I'm sure there's some middle ground, and I'm sure I always thought they should just have better insurance. That's how I would counteract all of this. Is like, I would just give the UFC fighters all insurance. Like, you fight you get signed to the promotion. anytime you're in the promotion, you get free health insurance and for 3 to 5 years after you retire. You know what I mean? And if you fight for 5 years or 10 years, you get lifetime insurance. It's kind of like how the NFL is.
Yeah, that'd be nice.
Something like that. But like,
I agree with that.
These guys getting paid more, it's like, oh, the heavyweight champ should get paid as much as Tyson Fury gets paid. It's like, and then boxing will be fucking dead, and they'll only be doing 3 events a year because they got to pay 2 fighters $100 million for one fight. It's like, no, you pay X amount. Well, fine, you work out some of the pay-per-view, then this incentivizes those guys to promote their fight, and that's how you get your extra money. Like, but boxing is dead because of these paydays, and people want to like, oh, Dana's bad because this they should be getting this. Like, that's why boxing's dead. What the hell are you talking about? Like,
with regarding boxing and UFC, we'll go to that. We'll go back to Usyk and Fury later, but I want to stick to this right now since we're flowing here. The biggest pro of UFC is Sean said they set up the fights where the champs fight the champs, but what I really like about it, and again, I am like less knowledgeable in the UFC than anything, but I know more UFC fighters than boxers. Their cards is like, you can't beat them, especially when it's like, was it Aljo or Sterling, Aljo Sterling?
Sean.
Yeah, that's one I could think of.
There was 2 championship fights and O'Malley, who's their biggest non-champ.
Yeah. So that's what I'm saying. Like, it was like they had like on their main card, not even on the prelims or anything like that. Their main card, 4 out of the 5 fights were stacked. So they charge like what, $60, something like that. And I'm not a big fan of these pay-per-view prices, but UFC can charge like, well, look at these fights right here. Like, you have 5 fighters, you're getting your money's worth at least.
Sometimes it flops, but I agree. That one was that's a good example because boxing, like I said, they don't have any continuity. It's like there's 3 big fights. Canelo's fighting the week after Haney or Davis and Garcia. Haney's fighting the week before. It's like, dude, just all be on the same card, fine. Then charge your $80, and then Canelo's the main event because he's the guy.
He's the GOAT.
Yeah, and it's like Gervonta and Garcia fought right before him, and then Haney fights right before that. It's like, why y'all gotta have your own event? That means y'all gotta pay even more people.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? It's like, it just don't make sense, and it's like, why not just have one mega event? And that's what the UFC does a good job of. They'll have they have a lot of free ones where they're not stack cards. I mean,
no.
But the big cards,
they don't mess
around. They
don't,
like I said, there'll be 2 championship fights and then 2 really big contenders that everybody knows.
Yes.
They try to stack the cards, and the boxing doesn't do that at all. Like,
they stack it in the way where it's a variety where everyone enjoys. Like I said, I'm a pretty novice person. I just say I'm a watcher. I just call myself a casual watcher. I don't even call myself a fan. Yeah. But like, you'll get like a brawl match. So like, who did Michael Chandler just fight? What's his name? Not
Justin Gaethje.
No, way back.
Dustin Poirier.
Poirier. He fought Poirier. That was a bloodbath. Yeah. That, like I said, was like, we knew who was gonna win that fight, but that they put these people together because it's entertainment at the end of the day. Like, we love seeing some technical stuff, but let's say, I go to Sean's house. He's like, I'm watching the UFC tonight. I'm like, I've never watched it before. And you just see that bloodbath. Like, I'm watching this next week. Like,
is the same.
It's just bah, bah, bah. Like, it's technical. You enjoy that, but it's hard to wrap people in. And especially if you have Billy Bob Joe and Susie Sue fighting, but they have 12-0 and 9-0, and they're like kind of pawing. They have nothing built around it. They're always, if you look at the, what is it called? The posters, their thumbnails, whatever you want to call it. For their advertisements, it's always Garcia and Gervonta Davis, and they do that in the UFC too. But they also like put the little co-mains under and stuff like that. But it's always
a good
just
job
big.
Of like promoting certain people.
Yes.
Like, they know Sugar's going to be good. So you know what? They put him on the championship fight. They're going to put him on there. You're going to see him a couple times, so you remember. Oh, I saw that kid fighting earlier. Like, boxing does nothing like that anymore. I've legitimately never there's never 2 names on the same fight.
No.
Like Haney and Gervonta, and they're fighting 2 different. They're never like Tyson. There's never Tyson Fury's had 4 big fights in the last 4 years, and who was on the undercard? Nobody.
I was saying 3 of those fights were just wilder.
It's like times. Nobody was on the undercard.
And this, what was it? Who did he just fight? He beat him like 3 times in a row. I mean, not Wilder, but
Fury?
Yeah.
I can't remember. I know you're talking. Just some bum, though. But,
he already beat him.
It's like nobody's on these.
Dillian White or something like that.
Yeah. But, there's nobody on the cards, and it's like, oh, so you want me to pay $80 just to fast forward through an event or wait 3 hours for Tyson
wait
to
till
fight?
midnight to watch it when I'm already exhausted and I have to, stay awake for it. It's like, it's not worth it, and it really upsets me. And this will be a good segue into what I'm going to get back to is boxers have such these big egos. I mean, fighters do in general, but at least with the UFC, they have a little more they have like a not wall. They have a thicker skin, but boxers have such fragile egos, and they want to get paid the most. Like, oh, I'm the prettiest. I get, like we said earlier, they want their own main event, and that's what happened with the Usyk and Fury situation. Usyk took this awful deal because he just wants to fight. He is a fighter, and he was only going to get 30%, and Tyson was going to get 70. Because
that's not awful. I think that's fair. Tyson's the fucking goat.
Yeah, but in boxing sense, like that's a bad deal. But like if you're a true fighter, you don't care in a sense. And Tyson didn't think he was going to take the. We're all assuming that Tyson didn't think he was going to take that deal because in traditional boxing matter, that's such a bad deal to get. You're not getting much, so to speak. And then he took it, and then now there's negotiations again, and then he just fell out. And then
Tyson came out and said that like Usyk was a snake, or I forgot what he said.
But I don't.
But he said he was a coward who
second.
didn't want to fight. I don't know. I don't know where I stand because I didn't figure Tyson to be that type of guy. But I don't know. Once you get to a certain level, it's like, why don't you guys just retire instead of trying to play the game and cherry pick bums?
Because he's always saying he's like the best, and I think that would be a great fight. I was like, why not? You just had it made, and he's always doing these loops. He's trying to Fury and Anthony Joshua are going to set up, but Anthony Joshua, I think, has a better, or he's also in that game in the sense where he can kind of battle, but he's a fighter too. He's like, all right, let's set it up. And Tyson's like, all right, fight me in 6 weeks. I'm like, why? Like, what are you doing?
I don't know. They all have to take the fight on his terms. If you want to be the GOAT, you have to fight him on his terms. So I won't really give them credit because, like, what are their odds? They have to take it.
I know. It just
Usyk,
BS,
I don't know. Usyk does look good.
He has a better gas tank. His last fight, when he fought Anthony Joshua, he actually tripled the amount of punches. Shout out True Jordy. He broke out down the stats. He threw 700 punches in total.
That's a lot for heavyweight.
Yeah. Okay. So it was 700 punches in total throughout the fight. Tyson in his last match versus White was 300 punches. So the output would be crazy. I feel like Tyson would come prepared, but in my head I'm like, I don't know. That's a great fight.
I've only seen Usyk fight one, or would he fought Joshua twice?
It was twice. He beat him.
I think those are the only times I've seen Usyk fight. I've seen Fury fight a lot. The way he talked, it seems like he wouldn't be scared to fight anybody, but it just seems weird.
No,
like
I don't think he's scared. I don't want to think. I don't want to think I'm saying that, but I think it's more of like a. I want the biggest bag possible, like type of thing.
I think it's more. I don't think he's scared. I just don't think he wants to fight.
Tyson?
I don't think it's like he's scared to fight. I just think he don't want to anymore. He's really rich now.
Yeah.
Like, for real. Those last 3 Wilder fights like made him big money. And boxing trades on race very well. So the Wilder Fury fights did very good.
Oh yeah.
England.
And I watched the third one.
It was black versus white. England versus USA. Like they had like. It was going to do numbers. I watched them all. They were pretty entertaining. Yeah. Except for the one where Wilder was tired from wearing that suit down to the ring.
Well, that was the first one, right?
That was the second one.
Second? Okay.
The first one, Wilder knocked Tyson out in like the 12th round, and they illegally let him get up or something. I don't know. I counted it was more than a 10 count. But I don't know. They're always like, it's to the ref's discretion, so whatever. But usually they don't let people get up in the 9th second. No. Like if you're down from 7, you're like done. Like So that part was weird to me. Because when I was growing up, they used to let you get up. But nowadays, like if you're
like
still
he was
down,
flat out. He wasn't moving.
Yeah, if you're still down at 7, they're usually like fight over. Yeah. Like they won't let you like groggily get up at 10 like they do in the movies.
No.
But those were like the last 3 fights. He's probably made like on those 3 fights alone probably $100 to $150 million. It's like, how do you even find the energy to go out and fight? Like, especially some hungry guy who'll fight you for anything. Yes. Who's like, I'll fight you for whatever you want. Yeah,
you take 100%.
That I can understand. Care. I would just say fighting has always been and always will be a young man's game. Mm-hmm. Some of the GOATs, 100%. That's why they're the GOATs, because they last until their old age. But at the end of the day, eventually the young guys are going to catch you. Especially the hungrier they get, and you're not like the older you get, the less hungry you get. You're not going to get more hungry. And it's like the one good thing from him getting depressed, it kind of like reignited that fire where he's like, oh, I need to get back to that. So, but now I'm sure he's just an old man, got family. Like, what is the energy to go get in the ring and go fight this young, hungry punk? For less money than
it was funny because
probably like for less money than he was making against Wilder.
Yeah, like, after his fight, he's Usyk is such like is known as like a badass because he left for Ukraine to go fight for them and then came back to make these negotiations. It was like
he's fighting. Yeah. He's fighting in the war in Ukraine Like, and also box. Like,
Yeah.
if he gets a boxing match, he will leave to go box.
I'll be right back, guys.
Yeah.
I'll be back in a couple of days.
Chill. Watch my tank.
Another segue I want to do here, guys, is discuss. Again, we kind of shined on this a bit earlier, but I kind of want to highlight it. One of my personal experiences, again, is most recently we had the Caleb Plant and David Benavidez fight. That fight was a phenomenal fight. It showed that Caleb Plant was like a true warrior. David in like 7 through 12 is when Benavidez started to shine, and he was landing bombs like 8, 9. I showed you some clips. I don't know if you watched the whole fight yet.
No, I have not.
But oh my goodness, Caleb Plant's got an iron. Iron's called an understatement. But if Canelo got him down and Benavidez didn't with those bombs, I'm like, oh my goodness. So it just showed the cool power factor. But also, I was watching the undercard and I was getting annoyed because I was like, oh, okay. Again, like they haven't built up these fighters. And when we were discussing here earlier, I kind of gave it a thought. Is like, because there's like another issue with boxing is we have about 15 belts every weight class. We have about 55 promotions per boxer. Like, it's getting utterly ridiculous because I think that's going why. And to the point is like, why we don't have great undercard is because every promoter's like, well, I want the best for my guy, and the boxer's like, well,
so
I'm,
they just
I'm
go
the,
to a
yeah.
different promotion and
Yeah.
fight. Yeah, it's really tedious. So we never get the best fights.
Don't get the
Boxing
best
really
cards.
needs to go onto to like 2 promotions, maybe 3. Like
Yeah.
the United States, the England can have their own, and then maybe like an international one for everybody else. But there's like the WBC, WBO, WCO, like just too much.
IBF.
There's too many out there. Like MMA's only got like 3 or 4.
PFL,
But really only
UFC,
PFL, 1,
Bellator.
and UFC. And
Yeah.
there's just some sprinkle, but like they don't matter.
No.
Like
The second most popular one's what? Bellator?
yeah, and it's like no one cares if you're the
No.
Bellator champ. Like they need to
It
get
only
to where
matters when they talk about it in the UFC.
yeah, like they need to get so there's one champ so we can get some consolidation so these guys can start fighting each other.
Yes.
When they're like, you know what, this road's too hard to this belt. I'm just gonna go to this promotion.
Yeah.
And fight there, and then you fight some nobody, you fight a couple cupcakes, and they're really just hoping somebody pulls out of the fight or the champ can't get somebody. So hey, fight me instead. Instead of like, the UFC is blowing them away because they have a structure, just like boxing used to have. The number 1 contender fights the champion.
Yes.
And you become the number 1 contender by beating other guys who are ranked in the top 10.
Yeah.
Now it's like, I just got to blow my social media up, keep my 18-0 record, and eventually they'll call me.
Yep.
And instead of just being like, no, you got to fight, you got to beat some of these guys and fight on some of these undercards, and that's how you earn your way. And it's like, I think that's why a lot of people, there is a lot of people who hate on the UFC, but a lot of fighters don't complain. There's fighters who do complain, but like the guys who
minority.
really want to put in the work, they don't have a problem with the structure. Like the champions, they don't have, most of them don't have a problem with the structure. Like again, like any business, if you worked at Wendy's, you would think, hey, I could be making more money.
Yeah.
But Dana and the UFC are trying to make every buck they can too. And the UFC, unlike boxing, at least reinvest it back into their brand and their fighters. Like, yes, some of the fighters can make it more, but like the
publicity and coverage.
publicity some of these guys on the Ultimate Fighter, on the Contender Series are getting
That's
is
how O'Malley blew up.
invaluable. Like
Yeah.
you can't, but like that's millions of dollars worth of advertising. Being on a TV show on a major network for fucking 20 episodes and then have a pay-per-view event type fight at the end, like that's invaluable promotion. These guys leave that part out where the UFC helps you build your
O'Malley
brand
said
for you.
that. He stated in a podcast when this was a new conversation regarding the UFC pay wage and stuff like that, when Jake Paul was bringing that up, it was like fresh, it was a hot topic. And he said, he's like, some fighters don't get paid this and that. And he was like agreeing kind of. He's like, we have to look at it both ways. He's like, take myself for an example. And he wasn't sided with either way. He just said he saw both sides. He was like, when I was on the Contender Series, like that clip, that gave me a chance. And then he saw that viral clip of him knocking out and walking away. And then he went on the cage, and he was like, "It's my time, Dana. It's sugar time." And he's saying like, "There's like that clip, like help me and stuff like that, and doing all these cool things." He's like,
he helped
so it
himself.
plays both ways.
Like,
He understood
Dana
the
will help
game.
you if you help you. Yes, he said, understand the game is a perfect thing. It's like if Conor McGregor or Sugar Sean O'Malley comes out and says, "Hey, the UFC isn't paying me," then I'm like, "Oh, you're fucked up. Why aren't you paying Conor? Why aren't you paying Sugar?"
Oh yeah.
Well, Izzy is a good example. Why aren't you paying Izzy?
Yeah.
Like, but some of these guys are boring, And that John Jones had this problem. He is the GOAT. I don't like John Jones, but he is
Everyone says that. Everyone's like, I hate this man.
He is
but he is a god.
unequivocally the GOAT. But after a while, he put on some exciting fights to start. But after a while, he was just mauling through everybody, and they were really boring.
Yeah.
And like he wasn't like finishing them in exciting fashion. He was just beating them unanimous decision, controlling them, and it got boring. And they were like, Dana's like, I'm not paying you I don't care if you're the GOAT or the champion. If you want to make money, you have to sell pay-per-views.
Yes.
And
it's entertainment.
Some of these guys they look at themselves like they're an NFL player and not as if they should look at themselves more like they're rappers.
Yeah.
Than some NFL player. Like the NFL has been around for 100 years. They've got things in place, all types of things. Like, no, this is like the UFC is like a record label, and you make money when they make money.
Yep.
Like they don't, you know what I mean? It's like some of these NFL players. Well, the NFL's like built in too. They're gonna make money.
Yes.
The UFC's not like that. They're not built in. They're when their pay-per-views flop, they feel it.
Like 5-year-olds aren't watching this.
Yeah, yeah. Like everybody.
Not,
you're born into sports. Like MMA is a acquired taste.
Niche, yeah.
But yeah, some of these guys are complaining. And I don't know. Like I said, I don't want to pick sides, but I can, like I said, see it from both sides. And when I see people who I know are hard workers and playing the game and putting in the work, when they come out and say they're not getting paid, then I'll say something. But like the guys who like Francis Ngannou, it's like, I like him. He seems like a nice, humble guy. People don't pay to watch nice, humble guys fight.
Yeah.
I don't care how many people you knock out. He's a vicious striker.
Oh, yeah.
He's too nice. People don't like that, especially in a heavyweight who knocks people out. You have to be mean. You got to talk shit. You got to tell him, hey, I'm going to knock you on the first round.
I always think about Kobe Covington. He's
I don't want to shade him. I would say he's above average fighter, but he's not really a champion. But he's like one of the biggest draws in it.
Yeah.
Nate Diaz, middle of the pack, stepping stone fighter. He doesn't even really play the game, but he promotes himself.
Yes.
You know what I mean? He does what. He does the thing he knows like real fighter fans like.
Yeah.
So they'll ride with him. It's like, y'all gonna want to do none of that. And then you're like, well, Dana should pay me more. It's like, those are the people who get paid more is because they put in the extra work. Even Nate like gets paid more. Dana knows he got to pay Nate. When Nate fights, he knows I got to pay him.
Yep.
Like, so he'll tell Nate like, yeah, I'm gonna build your little momentum back up. And when you're popping on Twitter and I get you a decent fight, we'll get you in the ring. Yeah, we'll cut your check. We get you the right dance partner.
Mm-hmm.
But some of these guys want to complain. And John Jones did it for a long time. He sat out for multiple years. But it's like, dude, you got to put in the work. John Jones was acting all humble. He don't talk shit. It's like, you're not going to get paid. The fighters get paid. Who get paid? Floyd Mayweather, Muhammad Ali, Conor McGregor, Oscar De La Hoya. Like, these
Sugar
guys
definitely, he renegotiated his contract. So he told that.
Well, he didn't renegotiate. Sugar said, hey, I'm not taking he said, I wasn't fighting until I got my new deal. He said, I wasn't going to take a big fight until I got my new deal.
Yeah.
And he probably told Dana that. Dana's like, fine, I respect that. We'll throw you another cupcake. But no, when that new deal comes, you're fighting. And he fought somebody tough right off the bat. Like I said, Dana will work with you, but he'll let you know that, all right, fine, we'll play that game. I'll let you play it. I understand.
You got to play
my
side.
Yeah, exactly. But when you're going to put on a fight, I'm going to put you in there with a fucking savage. Like, and you got to earn your check. And I think Sugar does that. And I think there's a lot of other fighters who do that. And I think we're in this age, boxers really, but even some MMA fighters were like, they don't want to put in the work.
No.
Like, they're like, oh, I'm putting all this work in the gym. Like, it ain't enough money to just put, or enough to just put the work in the gym. If you want to be Conor McGregor, you got to put the work in the gym. You got to put it on the mic. You got to put it on social media. And that's how you get rich. And then you ride off in the sunset after you did it for 10 years like Conor.
Yeah.
Like, but you can't just not put in any of the work and think the work you're putting in the gym is enough. People put that work in every day who never even fight in the UFC.
No, that we don't
your
even
coaches
know.
are out there in the gym putting in similar work.
Yeah.
There's guys at your gym who are just nobodies, who are firefighters or
who
cops.
could be better than you.
Yeah, you know what I mean? Or whatever. They're putting in the work. It's like, no, you put in the work, you build your skills, and then you got to play the game.
Mm-hmm.
It's not just good enough to become the champion, which you're probably not going to become anyway.
Yeah.
So you probably want to play the game anyway. And these guys are all like, their main focus is, I'm going to be the champ. But it should be, I'm going to make some money.
Yeah. That kind of want to drift into regarding, so obviously the UFC, but let's play fair here. Regarding boxing, and there's a subset of it, a sub topic, whatever it's called, a subset.
Okay, subset.
Yeah.
We're talking about misfits.
Yeah, we're talking about influencer crossover boxing. Obviously, Jake Paul's, I will say, for the casual fan, is 100% in the lead for that. He's the runner. He's the face of it. He just did Tommy Fury, and that was estimated to do about 800,000 pay-per-views.
Not bad.
But the point I want to bring up with this is I'm a little more knowledgeable in this because I grew up in the YouTuber era and stuff like that. So I know the storylines more so and stuff like that. But regarding Jake Paul, is like, I don't like him. No, not a lot of people like him, but he, like Sean was saying, is like, he talks that shit. He picks good fights or like markets the fights well. Like he initially like, oh, Jake will beat him, and then he like does this crazy marketing or like smart marketing was like, well, he's bringing up all these other facts, and then we kind of start teetering and makes it an entertaining fight. Except the Tyron Woodley 2 fight, that was a pretty boring fight, and Tyron was winning that, but he just
wasn't he a replacement though for Tommy Fury or something?
Yeah.
So I guess kind of give him time.
Yeah, but yeah. Anyways, so Jake has his great draw and stuff, and then also with Misfits, that's the biggest promotion right now. I have some little drama I want to bring up in a minute regarding what they're doing with the influencer crossover boxing, but they've built all these great. They've picked the best entertainers who are willing to fight, and they pair them up properly. Like obviously KSI is the biggest UK draw that you can get, so he always sells at Wembley no matter what he does. I'm trying to think of a fight. Oh, obviously Logan Paul KSI, that was a huge thing. That was a big, huge thing. That was kind of the start of this all on the mainstream level. Shout out DAZN for putting them on. But in the internet social media area, they put all these fights together perfectly. They make the storylines, and like you were saying regarding the UFC, they put these fighters together and make sure they fight, and they don't let them like weasel out and do think of a scrub like Aiden Ross versus Logan Paul. You know what I mean? Like it's a Logan Paul warm-up fight. Obviously, that's different weight classes, but you get the point I'm trying to make.
Yeah, I understand. That's just how boxing is now. I feel like every time it's some guy beating up on some dude.
Yeah, and I'm glad Misfits Misfits mainly is kind of taking the lead. It's taking charge and making sure everyone stays in one area, and they only have one belt. It's the Misfits belt, which is fine. I don't really care.
Who has it? KSI?
Yeah. KSI, and then there's a few belts, and it's all different weight classes, obviously, but there's several belts in weight classes, but it's all Misfits within that weight class, which is good. And they almost had an issue because there's something called the Influencer Continental Boxing or whatever. They had 2 belts going on, and then they canceled that out like after the first event, which was good because they almost went into the same boxing trip. They're gonna have about 5 belts in different weight classes, and I'm glad we got rid of that. But they actually are having some recent things, issues, I like to call it, possible issues that boxing already has. And I want you to get your thoughts on this once I finish up here. But the camera's flashing. Can you stop flashing, camera? Stop. Come on. Just don't stop the camera. Just stop flashing at me. If you can stop flashing. Or is it just telling me it's 10 minutes? Anyways, I'm just going to keep going and see what happens. So the main guy's Misfits. And then recently we had another promotion called Kingpin come out. They're doing a tournament thing I told you about. Yeah. And they have a lot of Misfits fighters going on there, and then some other ones who fought on like smaller ones, like maybe undercard for Jake's fights or some other Triller fights or whatever. They fought on other influencer-based cards. And Social Gloves, that's what it was. And so they're all coming to this tournament to see who's going to be the best out of everyone. There's 8 women and 8 men. And they're all going to go to the. Obviously, the men and women are going to fight. I don't know. Maybe that'd be cool. Let's see.
I don't see why not.
Yeah, why not? That'd be cool. That'd be the best fighter of every gender. But yeah. So, and this is where I kind of have an issue with the influencer boxing scene right now. Is we're starting to see a lot of promotions pop up. I get it, it's a huge money grab right now. I understand, but Misfits should not have done this, and they should have paid people more because they knew they could get more. Or paid some of these main events a little more. So like a Nissan Gibb I've talked about. He's going to be on there. He's the leading man. And they were trying to get Gibb on Misfits, but they weren't paying him enough. They only offered him like $250K face front to fight Slim, which is on social media side. Everyone's talking about those two fighting. Or even Salt Poppy too. I know you know about him. Yeah. Stuff like that. And to get these fights.
$250, that's decent.
Yeah.
That's definitely more than young boxers are getting to fight on those undercards.
But
Dana came out and said, to interrupt you, he said that one night he was like, these guys are talking stuff. He's like, I forgot. He's like, Francis made more than everybody on the Oscar De La Hoya card combined. Like he's like, and they're over in like, you know what I mean? They're only making like their purse is like $500 million. Like boxing is that, but damn, their Misfits are paying $250K.
Yeah, that's for a main event. Yeah, they get paid. Yeah, they get paid. Well, obviously, higher card up is all different, but they take care of them. That's the point.
Even at the high end.
Yeah.
Again, because you say, I don't know. Tom talks about it like it's mainstream. It really is not.
I think
it's not.
But they just signed a 5-year deal.
I hear stuff. I bet you it's more mainstream in like England, but it's not in the United States. Like
no,
the only person I know who ever says anything about it is Tom, and I know plenty of people who love boxing, love sports in general, and I've never heard anyone besides Tom. It's never even popped up on like my YouTube feed ever. Not one time.
That's weird.
Yeah, and
Especially
I look.
because you talk about Salt Poppy a lot.
That's what I'm saying, and it's never. The Salt Poppy videos have popped up, but I've
Yeah.
never like a Misfit event or anything like that's never even popped on my YouTube. So I don't know, but I'm intrigued with it because I like boxing and I like I said, I like seeing fights, and
Yeah.
I think it puts a lot of pressure on Showtime, and it also shows them that you can do this. Like,
Yeah.
you don't have to do this extravagant, pay the biggest fighter $100 million. Like, you set up a good event, have some good fights.
And with Misfits, I totally forgot to mention this. A pro about them is, so they're about to do Misfits #6. That is a free event. A lot of their event, they've only done, actually it's been 3 and 3. They've done 2 pay-per-views. 2 pay-per-views and all the other events have been free. So and they stack their cards. Like it's to an extent on the influencer side, it's like a UFC card type thing where like these names, you're gonna watch them brawl and stuff like that. And it's really cool. But the issue I'm having right now is they're having all these promotions coming in, and Misfits, it's letting them go over to Kingpin. Even though they're signed to Misfits for a multi-fight deal, they publicly announced that. It wasn't like a guess, I'm saying. And then they went over. They allowed Kingpin to rent out their fighters. So I don't know. I have both sides to think of, but what would you think about that in general? Like, should they allow some of their big name fighters go over there to fight on another promotion? Let them rent out.
No, I would say no. I would tell Kingpin, like, hey, if you want to do something like that, you guys get a champion and come fight on the Misfits card. I always thought that UFC should do that, but I think Dana's trying to smother
Keep
them
it in
out.
house. Keep it in house.
No, I just think he's trying to smother them out, and I think any attention for them is good attention. So even if their champion went over there and got his ass kicked in the UFC, Dana's looking at it like, I just help promote their brand. Like, and like Dana doesn't discuss them, but I would say I'm against it. I wouldn't let any of your guys fight under different promotion. And like I said, unless, like I said, you want to come do that over here, like, hey, we'll do your tournament on our
promotion.
yeah, and we'll, you know what I mean. Hey, you can throw a few guys in it, and it'll be the
Misfits X Kingpin.
or the Misfits tournament sponsored by
Kingpin, yeah.
or you know what I mean, something like that. That's what I would do. But yeah, that seems silly. I'm
That's
guessing they're thinking we'll just get more influencers.
Yeah, because they've this Misfits event #6. I don't think I'm gonna watch the thing, but the main event is Le'Veon Bell and then JMX, so that'll be an interesting fight. But excuse me. Ooh, excuse me. There we go. Yeah. Where was I gonna go with that? Yeah, with the influencer boxing though, another pro about it is, obviously if you like the technicality, obviously traditional boxing will always have that, obviously, but kind of like what Sean was saying regarding the UFC, like these are really good fights. Obviously, there's plenty of technical fights in the UFC, but there's gonna be brawls. Like there are some technical boxers in influencers. Obviously, the minority, it's influencers at the end of the day.
Yeah,
like a couple.
KSI's like Jake's like the most technical one.
Yeah,
He's
I'd say
very sloppy.
Jake, Salt Poppy.
Salt Poppy isn't very technical. He's just got hands.
Yeah,
but he's got terrible. Like the way he holds his hands up is terrible. The way he moves is really flat-footed. Like he would get knocked the fuck out.
I'm saying out of the scene.
No, but it is entertaining. I like a fight. A fight is a fight to me.
And that's where they come in with
and there is a place in this. I always thought rappers should be doing this.
That'd be amazing.
But they're too pussy. They don't want to look like, they don't want to get knocked. Their
That's
image would be ruined.
They have
if
the
they
same
got
fear
out.
as traditional boxers do with their egos.
Yes, they can't. There can't be one video of them get knocked out, because then all the tough shit they were talking doesn't count.
I mean, if 6ix9ine just got jumped, he should definitely do a boxing.
I don't know why
right
6ix9ine definitely should. I think he's one of the people who wouldn't care if he got knocked out.
Yeah,
take it like a man and just say you wouldn't get in there, pussy. So fucking. That would be
I would pay $85 for that. I would pay that. I would
call that guy out who stomped him out.
Yes, oh my God. $84.99. Put that on the Garcia.
And then they just arrest him at the fight.
Yes.
They let him walk out of the ring. They just 6ix9ine.
You've been served.
This is him, Your Honor. They just arrest him.
That'd be awesome.
Oh.
Dude, they definitely do that.
I don't know why entertainers didn't do it, but Misfit is showing a way, and I hope Showtime takes heed of this. Some of these podcasts and use some of the some of these kids got good ideas. You can't always stay with the time, like do what you used to be doing. It's not working anymore. It's time to get with the times. Like I said, hire some of these kids and say, hey, you know what I mean? Help us out. How about this? We'll do a deal with the Misfits. You know what I mean? Y'all get 1-2 fights on the card. You know what I mean? Maybe not the main event, but the co-main event will be one of your guys' little crappy fights.
Yeah.
And
I was about to say, like, you could put, I mean, they probably wouldn't do this because of their names, but just for the sake of argument, you could put Jake Paul and KSI on that undercard for Garcia and
Yeah, something like that would be a good
Davis.
example. Yeah, something like that where it's like everybody wins. Like all these guys you don't need to be the main event. You're not the main event.
No.
And you're not and the only way to get to being the main event is by putting in the work anyway.
Yeah.
And then eventually you will be. But these guys need to more so start working. Boxers in general need to be working together to make money instead of being like, I need to be the highest paid boxer. It's like, no, you all work together and you just have the best pay-per-view and then you all make money.
And it's funny that you say that because I want to say this one thing before you head out. Or do we have more to talk about? So a good example of someone working their way up, again, back in the influencer boxing scene, shout out Slim. He's the one who worked his way. He was on some pretty low tier promotions for influencer boxing that weren't really well known, and then he was a sub-in for FaZe Temper, and then it was like a week notice, and then and with that week notice, he knocked him out cold, shocked everybody. He wasn't even on the main event. It was like on the lower ranking of the what was it called, the card, the event, and he worked his way up. Like again, he did another fight, and then he won that one, and then a fight after that, it finally went to decision. But like the point you're trying to make is like they're doing that a lot on the influencer side, where they're not letting them get their ego. Like everyone has an ego; it's gonna happen, especially in the influencer scene, especially boxing. All that combined is gonna get egos. But thankfully, for the most part, there's flaws. I'm not gonna say it's flawless. There are a good amount of flaws over there, but what they will do is set up all the fights that we want to see, and they will check everyone with like, hey, like we're not doing 50 main events where we have only this a fight that's never gonna happen, but Slim and KSI, where it's like, or they won't pick like their third best and make sure they have a main event, but they make sure they work up their way to it. They don't start off from the jump.
I feel like the UFC is like that too. Very rarely is some guy. Every once in a while there'll be some guy. Oh, I've won 10 fights in a row. I haven't been the champ, but he just came at the wrong time. Conor McGregor's hot. You know what I mean? Sorry, you missed the line. But for the most part, the UFC, you earn it. You get your shot.
Yes.
Sugar, this is a good example. He worked his way up. He won his fights. He fought a top guy. Now he's gonna get a title shot.
I'm very excited. Who's he fighting next? Has to be
probably soon.
Sterling, right?
Yeah, well, yeah, he's fighting Sterling.
That's what I meant.
But Sterling's fighting Henry soon, I thought.
Okay, so definitely after that.
Probably around Christmas is my guess.
I'm excited for that one.
I don't know. Both guys are terrible matchups for Sugar. So
I mean, I think Sugar's gonna lose. I don't want him to.
No, yeah, I think he's gonna lose. They're just all both
because he's not a great wrestler.
Yeah, I was gonna say, and they're like elite level grapplers, both of those guys. So I mean, Jan is not. Jan's a scrapper.
I thought that was JJ.
He said he was coming here the other day, and then he never showed up.
Yeah, good. Yeah.
But I guess to finish it out, we wanted to do something about boxing. We both are fans of fighting. I wouldn't call myself a casual boxing fan. I'm a real boxing fan. I've been following my whole life. It's just kind of I've lost interest now because these guys aren't the boxers I grew up watching. I'm a diehard MMA fan. I'm pretty much up to date on all that. But I think that the boxing needs to take some notes, or they're gonna die. Dana said he's gonna come out and start his own boxing.
Oh, if he does that, they're dead. They are 100%
Yeah,
dead.
He'll start paying guys like these amateurs want to fight. Like the young hungry amateurs, they want to fight.
Oh
like,
yeah.
You know, I bet you Jake Paul was getting DMs like crazy from amateur boxers. Like, I'll fight your ass. The higher tier guys are the ones who don't want to fight because they want to fight under the perfect conditions. And I think somebody needs to come out with a promotion to put an end to that. And I think UFC's got some credibility where it's like the UFC Boxing League might, you know what I mean? They get the right person to come over. They might be able to, or like he lets the MMA guy box guys in there.
Yeah.
Like, hey, you guys, instead of going over to Showtime and get paid there, we'll make it here. But I hope boxing does do something. My recommendation would be start throwing these guys on the same cards, start there, and make sure on the prelims you're building up your up and comers.
Yeah.
And you tell these guys, no more ducking fights.
Yeah. That's
you're 15-0. We're gonna put you up against somebody 15-0. And one of you guys is losing that zero.
Yes.
Like that's just what it's gonna be. Like, and if you don't want to do that, then fine, keep striking bumps. But you're not ever gonna get a main event fight. Like you got to put in the work. Nobody wants to put in the work. They want to be like, they want to like half-ass it, fight 15 instead of having 10 hard fights. They want 15 weak ones and then go, oh, I'm 15-0, so I should get this. Like instead of putting in the work, grind it out, become a fighter. Maybe you lose twice, and you're 8-2, but you put on. You know what I mean? One of the losses you put on a show, and the other one was against some guy who was really tough. You know what I mean? You'll get better. You go fight him later. It is what it is. And it's like none of these, like you said, none of these guys are all pretty boys, and they don't want to get knocked out. They don't want a crooked number up next to their win record, and it's just really killed boxing in general. People want to blame Floyd and say he was duck. Floyd didn't really duck anybody. No. Him and Pacquiao
Was the only
had
one.
a thing. But besides that, he literally fought
Yeah,
every
he fought.
other elite fighter there was in
I've
his
watched
time.
pretty much most of his highlights because I was like, I
He
didn't
fought
realize
Marquez, fucking
Mosley. I watched that one.
Mosley,
That was such a great one.
Oscar De La Hoya.
Yeah.
And these guys don't want to put in the work anymore. They don't want. They want, like, after they win 15 fights, they want to be like, I'm making $1 million a fight,
Yeah, it's
or
ridiculous.
else, or I'm not fighting.
Yeah, that's my biggest complaint about boxing is their egos are so fragile. And it just burns it. Like it's like with the UFC and with crossover boxing, they have like it's a snowball effect with whoever they want to choose or whoever they're building. Right, they're building several people at a time. It's a snowball effect. You're gonna see it go and get bigger, but traditional boxing is just well here's this fighter and then we'll give him
everybody's
a guy who's 1-11 and 2-25 and like they give them trash cans and then we get the Davis and Garcia fight and that takes 3 years to negotiate and then Garcia's mad because Davis took a fight but he took a year off and then Garcia had a fight with some bum that was some guy who was out of his prime. And he was like, "Oh well, he can't do that either." I'm like, "Be fair and just shut up and just fight." Like that bothers me so much. About
so it's
boxing.
always like this weird, like there's always gonna be stipulations. Like, dude, you're a fighter, fight.
Yes.
Like,
find a way.
Stop
and fight.
picking. Like, Canelo can be picky. Floyd Mayweather can be picky.
Yes.
Like, you're nobody.
They've earned it.
Yes, like you're nobody. Not putting no work in. And you're complaining about fighting under the perfect conditions. Like, no, it's like you were talking about Usyk earlier. You know, he took whatever the fuck he offered.
Yeah.
He knows. I'm gonna go in there, knock him out, and the next time I'll say, hey, I'm getting 50% this time, motherfucker. Like, you know what I mean? Like, you know what I mean? Or I say, hey, I want 60. I knocked you out. I'm the champ now. Like, what do you mean?
I'm
like,
A-side.
you told me it was 70-30 last time. Like, hey,
60-40.
It's like these guys don't want to go prove their worth.
So sorry about that, guys. The card got full towards the end, but you were saying, Sean?
Like I said, get back on it. Just these guys don't fight anyone.
No.
And then, like, we don't like you. The fans don't like you, and that, at the end of the day, that's what's got to matter.
And you
like,
lose the momentum,
yes,
too.
you're losing your momentum. People support who they like. It's like that's why your fights don't do numbers. The Showtime, there's no continuity. They're not building anybody. Like Showtime doesn't really like own the fighter, and I won't own them, but like they don't. They just like, oh, you do pay-per-view with us, but like the fighters don't work with Showtime.
No.
Like UFC, like you work for them. Like if Dana says you're fighting, you
fighting.
can say no. But like,
See what
yeah,
happens.
exactly.
Yeah.
Like you can say no. Like
Fuck around and
but
find
like,
out.
if they're running, everyone's together. They're a team.
Yeah.
And it's like, you know what I mean? You got to fight when you're going to fight. Like, and if you don't want to, like the champs, there was a situation right now. Leon Edwards just beat Kamaru Usman to be the thing. And he said, I don't want to fight Kobe. He said, because Kobe's been sitting out for 2 years.
Yeah.
And Dana, when Leon sat out for 2 years, Dana basically made him fight somebody, have like take a warm-up fight. And he did. He fought Nate and he beat him. Kobe hasn't done that. Kobe basically said, I'm sitting out till Leon and them fight. He didn't think Leon was going to beat him the first time. So he was sitting out waiting to fight Usman after that. And then, obviously, the champ gets a rematch. He's been sitting out this whole time waiting to fight for the belt again. And Leon was like, no, I don't want to do that. And Dana was like, well, too bad for you, motherfucker. Like, and Dana will be like, well, I strip you of the belt. Here's the interim title.
Yeah.
When you want to come back, you can fight for it. Like, Dana doesn't play. He already did that to Francis.
Yep.
Francis was like, oh, he negotiated. He stripped him right away. He's like, had 2 other guys fight for the belt, and when Francis got his shit back together and healed up, he didn't even heal up. He got his shit back together. He said, "Fine, you'll fight for you're the champ, but y'all fight for the belt, unify it." But like Dana don't play those games. He doesn't get held hostage, and boxing allows himself to be held hostage by some of these high-figure boxers.
That's a great
It's
point.
one thing when you let Floyd do it, but like Ryan Garcia, I'd be like, dude, who the fuck are you?
Yeah.
Like
Floyd earned it. That's the
what I'm
difference.
saying. If you don't want to fight on one of runner cards, or you don't want to get paid XYZ, then go fight somebody on Instagram. Go fight Jake Paul. Then, like, these guys have no balls because boxing is dying. They have no choice but to do business with these guys.
Yep.
But it's like you build your backbone and you say, no, we're not going to do this. No. And you build another star. That's the problem. Like you said, boxing UFC, you can build whoever you want. Y'all control the promos.
Yeah.
Get a guy who can box. Like I said, build them up, turn them up, and you spit them out.
And try. Like you said, you pick 3 guys. One of them's probably going to suck up
They
promoting
used
them.
to have a show. I forgot what it was. I think it was. What was it called? It was like the Ultimate Fighter. I think it was called Contender. But it was like the Ultimate Fighter where they had a show. It was on NBC too.
Oh, wow.
And I loved it. Like my whole family. I grew up watching boxing. But I'm pretty sure it was called the Contender.
Oh, that's cool.
But they would build, like I said, it was just like the Ultimate Fighter. They built some guys up, and one of these guys eventually, like, he segued into being like a 5-time champion for a long time. I forget his name was Sergio something, but they don't do anything like that. They don't have any You don't ever see any boxing promotion unless it's Mayweather versus somebody.
Yeah.
Like,
I don't
you
see
see
anything.
none.
I don't know any.
They're
boxer
not building their
besides
brand at
Diaz.
all. And then it's like Ryan Garcia's coming to the table like, oh, I've got fucking 1 million followers on Instagram, so
Yeah.
you got to pay me $20 million.
It's so stupid.
Well,
Yeah, they just ruined it.
It's like they're overpaying the guys who have killed their sport.
Yeah.
And it's like, so it's this vicious cycle where it's ruined. When there are good fighters that you can promote and you
Yeah.
can get together.
Which is not hard. It's
They don't have, like, they need to hire a Dana White who sits these guys, you know what I mean, have a meeting, but like, this is what we're doing
Yeah.
now. Like, you earned being the main event. And when I need you to be the co-main event, you're going to be the fucking co-main
Yeah.
event. Like, and if you don't
Swallow
like
your
it,
pride.
then go fight in a different fucking promotion.
Yeah.
Like, and be like that. And then, again, and then you start building your promotion. It might take 5 years, but it is. But
It's worth it.
boxing is going to be dead in 5 years if they
Yeah.
don't start something now.
That's why the DAZN just signed a Misfits deal, a 5-year Misfits deal with Misfits. Sorry.
People like fighting. When
Yeah.
it's even when it's bum loser kids, as long as it's guys going out there
Entertaining.
and really slinging the
Put it in
the-
100%.
yeah.
Yeah, that's all that matters.
And not guys like, oh, I don't want to fight him. Oh, I
Yeah.
cherry pick this fight.
Yeah.
Oh, it's like the Misfits fight are fun because they're like, it doesn't really matter.
No.
Like, these guys
It's
aren't fighting
entertainment
to
at the
make
end
the
of the day.
Olympics or to be a Hall of Fame
Mhm.
fighter. They're going out there to fight. And it's like, that's what boxers used to do. But now these guys have like, oh, I'm trying to build my brand. I want to be Floyd.
Yeah.
I want to be the go. It's like, dude, just go out and fight. That
Yeah.
shit comes later.
Yeah.
Like, if you can't fight,
Comes with
none of
time.
that even matters. Like, if you're not a dog,
Yeah.
you know what I mean? You can't just manifest being the GOAT. Like, Floyd did all that stuff, but he's also a savage in the ring. Oscar De La Hoya is savage in the ring. Like, these guys, you're going to make a lot of money if you're good.
Yeah.
But you got to play the game. And boxing, like I said, it's just, I really think it's going to be dead, or Dana White in the UFC is going to take it over in like 5 years.
Oh, yeah.
I think he might fight Usyk, and then he's retiring.
Oh, 100%. Yeah.
I think win
Maybe
or,
Ngannou.
I think win or lose, he's retiring. I don't think he's gonna fight Ngannou. I think Ngannou's gonna fight like Wilder, Joshua.
I'd watch the Wilder fight.
I mean, I'd watch it just to see fucking Francis get knocked out because I don't really like Francis. I did. I'm really not on this side on this one. People can think whatever they want. I usually am team the athletes, but I think Francis, as somebody who's followed the UFC this whole time, the UFC built him
Yeah.
up. They built him up. He won the fights, obviously, but they did crazy promos, great edits where he looked like a savage, and he don't play the game at all. He talks shit to nobody.
No.
And it's like, oh, but I want to get paid like Conor. No, you cannot get paid like Conor if you're not going to do Conor
Yeah.
things. Not even a little bit he doesn't want to do Conor things. Like, the only time Khabib got paid what Conor got was when he fought Conor. Like,
yeah.
that's the only, and that because he talked, because Conor basically forced him to.
Oh.
But like, if you don't want to talk shit, you can't, and then you're not getting paid. And this is just as simple as that. John Jones had to deal with it. There's other champions in the past that deal with it. And like, there's a thing, you have to promote your fight. The UFC can only promote it so much, but you have to.
Yeah. Yeah. This has been a long episode, guys, but this has been a good episode in my opinion. We discussed a lot of things. Let us know if we should discuss more of this type of the fighting industry, not so much individual fights. But before we do that, do us a favor, leave a like and subscribe right now. Follow us on TikTok and Instagram. Links are on the screen and down below. Other than that, I am Tom. This is Sean. And we see you guys next episode. Take care.